They vanished without a trace. No graves, no bodies, no cries for help etched in time. Only a single word, CROATOAN, carved into a weather-worn post. More than 400 years later, the fate of the Lost Colony of Roanoke remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. Was it starvation? Was it assimilation? Or was it something far darker? Something never meant to be uncovered? Today, we delve deep into the origins, the people, the circumstances, and the swirling theories that continue to haunt historians, archaeologists, and the curious alike. This is not merely a story of a vanished settlement. This is the story of a world on the edge of a new age and the shadows that swallowed it whole. The year was 1584, when the first seeds of English colonization were planted in the New World under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. At the center of the endeavor stood Sir Walter Raleigh, an ambitious nobleman granted a charter to explore and claim territory in North America. This new land, what would come to be called Virginia in honor of the Virgin Queen, was a promise of wealth, expansion, and strategic advantage against England's European rivals. In April of that year, Raleigh dispatched an expedition to scout the coast of what is now North Carolina. The explorers returned with enthusiastic reports of fertile land and a seemingly hospitable climate. Encouraged, Raleigh sent another fleet in 1585, led by Sir Richard Grenville and commanded on the ground by Ralph Lane. This group, however, would not be the famed Lost Colony, but rather its troubled predecessor. Lane's colony settled on Roanoke Island, and while relations with the local CROATOAN tribe began amicably, tensions quickly escalated. Supplies dwindled, leadership faltered, and distrust festered. When Sir Francis Drake stopped by in 1586 after a raiding voyage in the Caribbean, many of the settlers abandoned the colony and returned to England. Ironically, just days later, a relief ship arrived, only to find the colony deserted. A year later, in 1587, a new attempt was launched. This time, the venture would be led by artist and cartographer John White, a man chosen for his experience in supposedly more moderate approach to leadership. White brought with him a group of approximately 115 settlers, men, women, and children. This was no longer just a military outpost. It was meant to be a permanent settlement. Among the colonists was White's own daughter, Eleanor Dare, and her husband, Ananias Dare. The couple would soon give birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. This birth was heralded as a symbol of hope and commitment to the New World, a detail often romanticized in later centuries as emblematic of colonial courage. Upon arrival in Roanoke, however, they discovered that the remains of the previous colony had been dismantled. No bodies were found, but the structures had been torn down. Despite these ominous signs, the new settlers rebuilt. But their struggles soon mirrored those of Lane's group: dwindling supplies, tense relationships with native tribes, and the increasing awareness of their isolation. Just weeks into the settlement, White made a difficult decision. He would return to England to request additional support and supplies. Reluctantly, he left his daughter, granddaughter, and the rest of the colonists behind, promising to return as soon as possible. It would be the last time he would ever see them. White's journey back to England was severely delayed. War with Spain had engulfed the country, and the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 consumed resources and attention. 3 years passed before he could return. When he finally arrived at Roanoke Island in August of 1590, the scene was eerily silent. The fort was abandoned, houses had been dismantled, there were no signs of battle, no bones, no graves. only a single cryptic message remained: the word CROATOAN carved into a palisade post and the letters CRO etched into a nearby tree. White interpreted this as a sign the colonists had relocated to CROATOAN Island, modern-day Hatteras Island, where friendly tribes lived. Yet for reasons never fully explained, he was unable to mount a proper search. Weather and ship complications forced him to return to England. And with that, the trail went cold. The moment John White gazed upon the empty settlement in 1590, he must have sensed something was terribly wrong. The colonists had not left in haste. There were no signs of violence, no signs of starvation or plague. Everything pointed toward an organized, intentional departure. But where had they gone? The word CROATOAN offered a clue. White had previously established cordial relations with the CROATOAN people. It seemed plausible that the colonists had moved to join them. Yet White never verified this. Storms and ship complications forced his retreat, and with that went any immediate chance of finding the truth. Over the centuries, countless theories have emerged, some reasonable, others fantastical. One of the most enduring hypotheses is that the colonists assimilated with local Native American tribes. The CROATOAN, who had long coexisted in the region, were likely candidates. Oral histories from the Lumbee and Hatteras tribes even speak of ancestors with European features: gray eyes, lighter skin tones, and English words woven into their speech. Archaeological digs in the region have yielded tantalizing hints. Metal tools, pieces of English pottery, and even a rapier blade found on Hatteras Island have been linked, though not conclusively, to the lost settlers. Still, the evidence remains frustratingly circumstantial. Another theory suggests that the colonists may have attempted to sail back to England or to another English outpost, such as the failed colony at Chesapeake Bay. With no ship, no charts, and minimal navigational knowledge, such a journey would have been incredibly risky. If this occurred, it's likely the attempt ended in tragedy, lost to the sea. Darker possibilities persist as well. Some historians have speculated that the settlers may have perished in conflict with hostile tribes. Yet the lack of physical remains argues against a massacre. Diseases like dysentery, smallpox, or even environmental poisoning may have ravaged the colony. More fringe theories delve into the occult or extraterrestrial. While these lack academic merit, they reflect the persistent allure of the unknown. As the mystery passed into public consciousness, books, plays, and later film and television began to shape public perception. The media, particularly during the 19th and 20th centuries, transformed Roanoke into something mythic, a ghost story cloaked in historical possibility. Even in the modern age, the mystery of Roanoke has been revived by shows like American Horror Story, which fictionalize the events in surreal and chilling ways. These portrayals, though inaccurate, demonstrate how the story has evolved into a cultural touchstone, a parable of ambition, isolation, and vanishing hope. The Lost Colony became a canvas upon which generations projected their fears and fantasies. Yet despite the theories, the actual fate of those men, women, and children remains unknowable, just out of reach. The story of Roanoke is not just about the disappearance of 115 souls. It is about a fragile moment in time, a point where two civilizations met on uncertain ground. It is about the ambition of empire, the perils of exploration, and the brutal indifference of nature. The mystery remains unsolved, not because it can't be, but because we do not wish it to be. Some part of us needs Roanoke to remain unknowable, a riddle whispered by the trees and the sea. We may never know what happened to Virginia Dare, or to Ananias and Eleanor, or to the dozens of men and women whose names faded into the margins of history. But their story lives on, in archives, in legend, and in the quiet pool of an island lost in time. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly where it belongs.